Welcome to Live the Dream with yours truly, Marty Kaiser. Buckle up and let's get started. Happy Friday, everyone. Marty Kaiser here with another episode of Real Estate Tidbits. Live the Dream. I'm going to have a little shorter podcast today as I'm in the midst of doing a lot of traveling, but I didn't want to miss an episode. So a little different format today. I thought some things that I'm going to go over might prove exceedingly interesting to many of our viewers. I'm going to go over some numbers today, and I think you're going to find those quite enlightening. For example, everybody follows real estate and has their own opinions as to are prices going up or down, how's inventory, where are the interest rates going, etc. And as you know, interest rates have gone up quite a bit the last few years. They've gone slightly down over the last month or so, and I believe over the next year to 18 months, they're going to go down approximately 1%, give or take. So it's going to be a nice decrease, but not an overwhelming decrease. But here's some of the reasons why we're at where we're at. Did you know that in real estate, we've had an 11-year run-up of prices? So that means starting in 2013, we've had significant increases each year in prices. Some years obviously are more than others. In fact, 2021 and 22, the appreciation levels were just unbelievable, caused by a lot of factors relating to COVID and pent-up demand. We've had a 14-year shortage of inventory. So that means after the Great Depression, when we had all the foreclosures and short sales, that for folks like myself that were in the business, that was another interesting horizon that we had to navigate. Inventory levels have stayed below normal for 14 years. So those two statistics have really never been, we've never had them for anywhere near that length of time. For example, historically, when prices increase, they go in cycles, of course, but they usually only go up for a maximum of 4 to 5 years. So this 11-year increase in prices is unparalleled, and that's why the affordability index has changed dramatically. For example, in Central Florida, the Orlando area, where I focus a lot of my attention to, the median price of a home today is $395,000. That pretty much has doubled over the past 5 to 6 years, so that's been a huge increase. And obviously, people's incomes have not kept pace with that amount of real estate appreciation. It's been great for people that had the foresight to own one or more homes, but for people just getting into the market, it's proven a little bit more challenging. Along with that, here's some other interesting facts that go along with our economy and prices. Did you know that the average person doesn't leave home now until they're 26? That is unheard of when you think about your own life. I know myself, I went to college when I was 17, and I lived completely on my own when I was 19. Not that I recommend that, but a lot different than today. If I was growing up today, I would absolutely live at home for as long as I could. Why do I say that? Because in the Orlando area, the rental prices are just ridiculous. They stretch people's budgets. We do property management, and obviously I help landlords and tenants, but I feel a lot of sympathy for tenants because it's tough paying the rents. The rents have gone up unbelievably over the last 5 years due to a lot of these real estate factors I'm mentioning, but also due to the fact that Orlando is one of the top 2 destinations in the United States for people relocating here. So we've got a steady stream of people that in many cases need to rent, so that's driven prices up. The prices are not going to level off until we get so many rental units out there that prices will have to come down. And you're starting to see the rental units building up because so many of the developers are putting up these apartment complexes. And there are even some communities that have been building just to rent out their homes. So as more of this type of product comes on the market, ultimately it's going to put a cap on these rent increases. But right now it's very challenging. And from my standpoint as a real estate broker, it's just another reason why people should purchase. Why pay all this rent money when you're going to show nothing for it? You might have to scrimp and squeeze to get into your first home, and there are programs for many first-time buyers as well that'll help you do that. But you're gaining a foothold. What does your first house do? It gives you roots. It lets you build appreciation because real estate is the number one monetary unit of people gaining wealth over their lifetime. And for those of you that either have a family or want to start a family, it gives your children some continuity, somewhere where they know that they're going to come home to the same residence every day. You don't have your day-to-day life mandated by a landlord. Maybe you have a landlord that wants to raise the rent and you're not equipped to pay for it. Maybe you have a landlord that doesn't do repairs in a timely fashion. Or there could be a variety of things. But the point of this is when you're a tenant, you don't have control over your destiny. So to me, I've always been an advocate of owning homes, not just because I'm in the real estate business, but because I feel it's in everyone's best interest to own rather than rent. I know myself, I used to live up in the D.C. area and moved down to Florida many years ago. Real estate was even more expensive in D.C., and I lived in a lot of rental properties when I lived in D.C., and I hated it. So one of the things that I swore to do, and I did do it, is I would never have children until I was able to buy a property. And I held true to that. And I tell my children the same thing. Until you have some roots and can own, I recommend that you hold off having children. Not everybody probably agrees with me, but that's the values I've instilled in my family. So those are some things from a statistical nature. I'll give you a couple other things that are going to be eye-openers. Number one, the average age of a person buying their first property now is 35. Again, that's much older than it used to be. And the millennials that are covered in this price range that I talked about, the renter, the people that live at home till they're 26, the average home purchaser at 35, there's approximately 45.5 million millennials. They're just a huge and growing age block. And what does that mean? That means that there's going to be a ton of people looking to buy real estate in the upcoming years. So that kind of transitions to what I said during our last episode, and that was that I felt people would be better off trying to buy now than waiting until interest rates came down. I use that comparison because I feel that as rates come down a little bit, prices are going to continue to increase in real estate, and you're going to have far more people that are looking for homes. So from an economic standpoint and an affordability index, in my opinion, you're going to be better off trying to buy now than waiting until these market changes when you'll actually have less buying power. So those are some things that people should consider. One last statistic I'm going to leave you with. As you know, we're going through all these real estate legal changes with paperwork, how real estate fees are explained to consumers, and a whole lot of things that a lot of us don't agree are in the consumer's best interest, but nonetheless are part of our day-to-day environment, which started about 2 weeks ago. But out of all the real estate agents, and we have millions and millions of real estate agents throughout the United States, 47%, which is almost half of real estate agents, had 0 sales in 2023. Let me repeat that statistic. 47% of all licensed agents in real estate had 0 sales in 2023. So what does that indicate? Well, to me, it indicates 3 things. We have a lot of people that weren't making a living, obviously, and weren't able to support their family. We probably had a percentage of those folks that were part-time and didn't really have the expertise and their know-how, but they kept their license active with the hope that maybe they'd stumble into a customer that needed real estate help, maybe somebody they worked with, maybe a friend or relative. And so the people that would maybe utilize somebody in that capacity, they're getting a real estate agent that really has had no success, doesn't really have the property expertise or knowledge, and that relative or friend is doing them a favor but is not getting the representation that they should get. And so that's why when I used to be interviewed by customers and they say, well, I really like you, Marty, but I've got to also talk with my cousin, or I have a good friend that's in real estate. I say, well, I understand that, but if you seek legal advice or you seek a doctor, are you going to go to a friend or are you going to go to a top-flight professional? When it comes to real estate, it should be no different. Even though you want to help out somebody, this is a big real estate investment for you, and you want to get the top person helping you, not somebody that's a novice or really doesn't have the expertise. Plus, let's say your experience runs into a lot of bumps and you're not happy with it. How are you going to handle bringing these type of things up to a friend or family member? It's going to be very uncomfortable and might affect a future relationship. So I used to tell my potential customers to think long and hard about that. And most of the time when I put it in that fashion, those customers utilize my services. As you're probably learning from listening to me, I try to tell it like it is. Not how you would like it, but how it is. I think people appreciate facts and the truth, and that's how I always do business. So I thought those were very interesting statistics, and they really are eye-opening things. And so those are things that I want you to keep in mind. As time goes on, we're going to incorporate more statistics and trends into these podcasts and let you know exactly where we are, specifically in the Orlando market, but also on a national basis, because all those things are interconnected. And the last thing I'll impart on you today is kind of like, how do you look at things? Are you looking at things in a positive nature? Like, even though it's going to be a little bit more challenging for me to own or rent, I think it's important, especially from the ownership standpoint, for me to become an owner. So I might have to endure a little bit of not smooth sailing and maybe a little hardship. But at the end of the day, this is going to pay off, and this is going to be something that I feel if I was the consumer, I would be so thrilled that I was able to navigate the home buying environment, as opposed to somebody that looking at it negatively and says, I'll never be able to own a home. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So people can either strive for the next rung up the ladder, or they can strive and look at everything negative. Well, as you know, in all aspects of life, people that are positive are far more successful. And it's just a fact that a positive nature not only improves you from an economic standpoint, it reduces your anxiety, it improves your health, it makes you a better human being, it makes you a better parent or significant other. It just has unlimited benefits, where somebody that looks at things negatively all the time or tries to scare people, all it causes is negative consequences. So I want you to give some thought to that, because I think that is very important And it's becoming more and more noticeable in our society nowadays, because unfortunately, we've evolved into an adversarial society to a large degree. And hopefully we can evolve out of that. And a lot of that is going to be up to this millennial and the younger generation. What are their expectations for their life, and how are they going to approach not only their own situation, but how are they going to interface with their friends, family, employers, etc.? And also, are they going to take care of their health through exercise, through better diet, through anxiety reductions, and trying to minimize stress? Because stress is a big determinant on how your health is. So that's all for today. As I mentioned, I do apologize in advance for this shorter podcast. Please tell your friends and family about our podcast. We certainly welcome increased viewership. I'm going to start incorporating questions from my viewers next week. And until then, have an awesome weekend, live the dream, and take care.